Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about this little misunderstood booger. This set of ignition points. Most people don't even know what these are, let alone how to set them up right, how to inspect them, and how they function. So this video is going to go through all of that so you guys can be total heroes in front of your pals and be able to not only explain what this is, but how it functions and how to get these things running tip top. So let's roll into this thing. So before we start talking about the points themselves, let's talk about the whole system, just to get a bearing from a lot of you guys. This review, others, maybe this is new, who knows. Anyways, so how it works is, here's your battery, not the real battery, but representation of the battery. You have a wire that goes from the battery, connects to your ignition switch. From the output of your ignition switch on your ignition terminal, you'll be connected in most cases on anywhere from mid-50s to early 70s cars. There'll be a ballast resistor. Maybe there isn't, but in general, you'll have a ballast resistor on a lot of cars with points. The backside of the ballast resistor then connects to the positive on the coil. The negative on the coil connects into the underside or somewhere on the distributor housing itself. And then this wire ultimately, and I'll pull this rotor off so you can see, this wire ultimately snakes around and connects over to this side, which connects to one side of your points, which is actually this where I'm touching right now, the part that actually moves up and down. And it simultaneously in parallel connects to a condenser. Now we'll get into those functions in a moment. So what happens is, as this thing moves, you'll see this cam is moving this set of points. And as it moves those points, these points are opening and closing. And what they're doing is they are, every time that they open, they are discharging the coil. And then the coil, the high voltage part of the coil, is going to the, essentially, if I put the rotor back on here, is the secondary winding. So the high voltage of the coil is then connected to this pin here, which then rotates around, and then this allows each spark plug to fire in the firing order. So important that the other thing that you don't see is that the case of the distributor is grounded to the same points, or the same plane, if you will, as the battery. So that's what completes the circuit. So you have ignition goes to the primary windings of the coil. The negative of the coil doesn't go to ground, it goes to the points. And then the points, as they open and close, the back side of the points, which is connected to the distributor body, is then grounded. All right, so what's really going on inside here? This is something where get a lot of questions. A lot of people get confused about this. So I'm going to try to explain it again in just very straightforward terms. And so if you have any questions on this, leave a comment below and I'll be happy to go into more detail. So this is how it works. A coil has both a primary winding and a secondary winding. There's two windings inside there. I'll show an image somewhere up above in this area, okay? When the points are closed, such as right now, okay, you can see right here where the cam is. This rides on the cam, and right now this set of points is closed. When it's closed, current is flowing through just the primary winding. So it's going from the 12 volts, come in here, goes in the primary winding, goes through here, through the points is closed, and it's grounded to the engine slash frame, same place the battery is, and you're flowing this current, and so what's doing is it's building up a magnetic field inside this coil. Now, the moment the car rotates and these points open, as soon as those points open, the current stops instantly. So that current flow that was there, gone. And as soon as that happens, the magnetic field inside here collapses. And when it does that, it induces a high voltage surge in the secondary winding. And that secondary winding is that's when it fires, and you get this voltage, up to, in excess of 40,000 volts in some cases, comes out from here onto the top of the rotor that we showed earlier. And then it hits it at the exact point that this guy is hitting one of those, in a cap here, one of these terminals here, or one of these posts, and that actually fires the spark in the engine. So it's the collapse of this magnetic field. And so what this is doing is it opens, the field collapses, it sends a surge, and then it closes again. And when it closes, then now you're building up that magnetic field, and it's wash, rinse, repeat. So that's what's going on. You say, well, what about the condenser? You know, what's the condenser doing? Now, the condenser its purpose is when this thing fires, there's some leftover energy that's still in the system, in the primary system, and what it does is it catches it when those points open. And so the idea behind that is, by doing that, it minimizes any arcing across these points, because that's sort of the biggest enemy of these points is arcing. That's what reduces life of the points. Okay, now that you understand basics of what the function of the points are, why is it so important that you hear about point gap and dwell? Well, what dwell is dwell is going to be the distance of once this point gap it opens, and then as you can see here, and then it closes. It's going to close for a certain amount of degrees. That amount of degrees is critical to the proper function of the vehicle. If it is too high, meaning that your point gap's too small, okay, let's say you set your point gap way too small and it stays closed for too long of time, what it does is it tends to overheat the coil and it'll damage the points. Now, what happens if the opposite's true and the point gap's too much? Maybe it's like 10 or 20 or 30 thousandths even higher than what the spec is. Well, then the points will not close for long enough. You won't get enough duration to allow to build up enough magnetic energy. And in those cases, that's when you hear people say, oh, you know, I've got a weak spark, or my engine's misfiring, especially when it's under load. Most of the time it's because they don't have that gap set correctly. So we're going to actually show this. We're going to go over to the distributor machine in a moment, and you're going to see how adjusting that point gap actually changes dwell. Because at the end of the day, that point gap that they give you, that you use a feeler gauge or whatever for, hopefully a feeler gauge, anyways, that is basically so that it sets the right amount of dwell. That's what's important. Not so much the point gap, but the point gap is set so that you get the right amount of dwell. And the right amount of dwell depends on the distributor, depends on how the cam lobes are set up, and obviously the car. So if this one here, for instance, is a stock 1951-ish Ford flathead distributor, but anything with points is going to be similar. So you have to find the spec and then set it up. So let's go do that. Okay, got the distributor over here on my time machine, otherwise known as a distributor machine. Nice thing about this is it allows me to test and set up distributors, not on the car. So what we're going to do is, right here is what we're looking for. Now, this is a Ford flathead distributor. It's looking for about 28 to 30 degrees. And we're going to show you what happens when we adjust this. Now, what we're doing is by putting the screwdriver in here, we're adjusting the plate on the bottom. So as I turn it counterclockwise, the plate's going to open up, which means it's going to open up the gap in the points. And when I turn it clockwise, it's going to close the plate, which is going to effectively close the gap on the point. So let's go for it. So we get this just going about, just at a decent rate right now. Right now we're running about 800 RPM, which is fine for setting dwell. So right now the dwell is at 28. It's exactly where Ford wants it at. So let's go ahead and change it. So when I go ahead and, so right now I'm opening up the gap, and you see how the dwell is dropping. So again, if we were to set it here, put it on the car, you're going to have issues starting, you're going to have misfires under load, and generally a weak spark because it's not staying closed long enough. Now likewise, if I move it the other direction, so now I'm closing the gap, and we'll just throw it up here. That's about as far as I can take it here. In this case, points are staying closed way too long. You're going to run into issues with coil life and point life. So I'm going to move it right to the sweet spot, which is right there at 28 degrees, and tighten this baby down. And see how it even moved a little when I tightened it down. But 28 to 30 is where I want it. So this thing is good to go. One quick note that I forgot to talk about earlier is, remember how I was doing this earlier and moving this point open and close. Well, what you're doing when you have a car and you don't happen to have a distributor machine on hand, what you're going to do is you're going to rotate the car till you get the point of that, the point of this cam right on where this thing rides. And that's going to give you the maximum distance that these points are away from the top set of points, or the points are, you know, furthest away from each other. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your feeler gauge, and they're going to say, hey, like in this case, set the points to, I don't know, let's say it was like 18 thousandths or something like that. You're going to shove that guy in here, and you're going to adjust the points so that you just get hardly any, just a little tiny bit of drag. That's all you're going to want, and then you're going to set them. So if you don't have the luxury of having a time machine like I do, the next best is to actually have a dwell meter, which you can put on your car. Or the third best is just set the gap with a feeler gauge, and then monitor the car. Make sure the coil is not getting too hot when you're running. If it is, maybe your points are a little bit too close. Or if you're having issues and it feels like it's kind of misfiring or something like that, before you start replacing a ton of points, a ton of parts, you can go ahead and close that gap a little bit and see if that helps. Okay, now we know how points work, why you set the gap, what the gap means, how all that stuff works, so you are totally dialed in on that. The last thing is care and maintenance of these guys. Now, again, they use these for, feels like, I don't know, not thousands of years, but they use them for a long time, right? And so they have a way of, they do work. They work great when they're adjusted correctly. The other things you need to look for, though, there's a few things, okay? One is, on the set of points, as you can see, I'm sort of opening and closing these here. What you want to do is you want to inspect, it's going to be hard to show you on this, but you want to inspect inside the surface on these two sets of pads. Make sure there's no bubbles. Make sure that that's evidence of arcing, like little nubs, that you have a nice solid contact here. The other thing is to make sure that the contact's flush. It's not angled. So it's contacting like this. It's not contacting like this. If it is, that means that this guy's gotten bent probably, and you can actually tweak them a little bit to make them work. The other thing is if these are getting like corroded, if it doesn't look like a nice smooth surface, you can use like a points file. I like to use emery cloth. This is like 400 grip emery cloth, and you stick that in there and you just very gently drag it across. Now you don't want to be too aggressive on that, because these do have a a coating on them, if you will, and if you rub them too much, that will remove that plating, and then the lifetime will decrease significantly. So that's a couple of things you need to do. And what's nice about points are, if you're in the middle of nowhere and you're having an issue, you can actually, you know, with something that you have in the back of your car, you can actually clean them and you're good to go. Likewise, condensers, it's always good to have an extra condenser on hand. These generally will only go bad because they get too hot. And if they go too bad, they're not absorbing that extra energy, and so that can create a funky spark as well. So it's good to have an extra set of these. You can also have an extra set of these points laying around too. But when you put them in, make sure nothing's grounding, because remember, this is ground here. This surface is ground. That means anything here or wires touching this cannot be grounded, or it will not work. All right, folks, some little note really quick to add. We've been talking the whole time about points, obviously, but in a single point distributor application. Well, it evolved. It evolved from single point to dual point. Now, why did it go to dual point? Three main reasons. Number one is they have better performance at high RPM. You're talking about over 4,500, $5,000. And that's just because it's a mechanical device. The points are opening and closing. So to have two sets of points, it actually gave better performance. And as such, it gave a hotter, more reliable spark. The third reason is because it has a dual set of points, that coil current is actually being distributed over two sets of points, not one, so it made the points last longer. But ultimately, we evolved into the electronic distributor. The more modern stuff is all, talking about mid-70s and onward, they all went to electronic. And they went to electronic to get rid of, it's just a technical evolution of moving away from a mechanical device to an electronic device. So in the comments if you want me to dive in deeper into either of these, like how to set up a dual point distributor, or talking more about electronic distributors and how to set those up and make sure that they're wired correctly, which is the #1 issue with these little things, let me know. Well, if you've made it this far, you are a legend. You're going to be able to take this little guy that intimidates so many people and make it work perfectly. You know how to set them, you know how they work, you know how to troubleshoot them, and you can be a hero to all your pals. And if you want to go old school, this is the way to do it and to do it right. It's not particularly complicated, but it really throws folks for a loop. So again, if you have any other comments, throw them down in the comment section below. If there's stuff you want me to dive deeper into or something a little different like we talked about earlier, maybe going to dual points, maybe going to electronic distributors. I'm all ears. So I want to make content that you guys love because you guys are awesome. You guys keep subscribing and liking. It's awesome. I guess the algorithm's picking it up because we're getting some traction here. So just want to say thanks to everyone. And thanks for hanging in there through this video. I know it's a longer one, but I really think this is something that it's just misunderstood. And when you set these things up right, they work awesome. So thanks to everyone. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.